July, 1518. A woman steps into the street in Strasbourg, France, and starts dancing. Nobody asked her to. There was no music. She just danced. For days. Then her neighbors joined. Then strangers. Within a month, over 400 people were dancing uncontrollably in the streets. They couldn't stop. They danced until their feet bled. They danced until their bodies broke down. Some of them danced until they died. And nobody, not then, not now, can fully explain why. Welcome to OddMind, where we explored the strangest corners of human history. Today, the dancing plague of 1518. The most bizarre and terrifying mass hysteria event ever recorded. It began with one woman, Frau Trophäa. On a hot July morning in Strasbourg, she walked into the street and began to dance. No music, no celebration, no reason. She danced through the afternoon, through the night, through the next day. Her husband begged her to stop. She couldn't. By the end of the first week, she had been dancing for 6 days straight. Her feet were bleeding. Her body was exhausted. But she could not stop. Within days, 8 more people joined her. Then 30. Then over 100. By August, more than 400 people were consumed by the dancing plague. They danced in the streets, in churches, in open fields, day and night, without rest, without food. Some collapsed from exhaustion. Some suffered heart attacks. Some simply died. All while dancing. The authorities of Strasbourg were desperate. They called in physicians. The physicians had an explanation. Hot blood. Too much heat in the body, they said. The cure? More dancing. If the afflicted danced it out, the fever would break. So the city built stages. They hired musicians. They brought in professional dancers to keep the victims moving. They thought they were helping. Instead, they made it catastrophically worse. More people joined. The music drew in bystanders. The spectacle spread the condition like wildfire. The city had accidentally created the perfect environment for mass hysteria to explode. When that failed, they tried religion. Priests performed exorcisms. The afflicted were carried to shrines. Holy relics were pressed against their bodies. Nothing worked. The dancing continued. So what actually caused it? Historians and scientists have debated this for centuries. Theory 1. Ergot poisoning. Ergot is a fungus that grows on rye grain. When consumed, it causes convulsions, hallucinations, and involuntary muscle spasms. In 1518, Strasbourg had suffered a brutal winter, followed by famine. The grain supply was compromised. It's possible contaminated bread triggered the neurological symptoms. But ergot poisoning doesn't explain the social spread. Why did healthy bystanders, who hadn't eaten the bread, start dancing too? Theory 2. Mass psychogenic illness, also known as mass hysteria. This is a condition where psychological stress spreads through a community like a contagion. The mind triggers real physical symptoms. And in 1518, Strasbourg was under enormous stress. Famine, disease, political instability. The population was terrified, desperate, hopeless. Historian John Waller, who wrote the most thorough study of the event, believes the people of Strasbourg were so overwhelmed by fear and suffering that their minds snapped. And the body expressed that collapse as uncontrollable movement. Not metaphorically, literally, physically, unstoppably. Mass psychogenic illness is not ancient history. It happens today. In 2011, a high school in Leroy, New York, 12 teenage girls suddenly developed uncontrollable twitching and verbal tics. No physical cause was ever found. The condition spread through the school, through social media. Girls who had seen videos of the affected students began developing the same symptoms. In 2012 in Colombia, nearly 200 students at a school began fainting and experiencing convulsions and waves. Tests found nothing medically wrong. The human mind is so powerful, so deeply social, that it can produce real, physical, measurable symptoms in response to what others around it are experiencing. We are wired for contagion, not just of viruses, but of behavior, of emotion, of physical response. The dancing plague wasn't madness. It was a community so broken by suffering that its collective mind fractured. And 400 people paid the price. By September 1518, the dancing plague ended. As suddenly and mysteriously as it had begun, the dancers collapsed, recovered, and never spoke of it the same way again. No complete death toll was ever recorded. Contemporary accounts suggest dozens died. Some estimates go higher. Frau Trophea, the woman who started it all, was eventually taken to a shrine outside the city. After several days of rest and prayer, she stopped dancing. What she experienced, what she felt during those weeks, was never recorded. She disappeared from history entirely, leaving behind only the most disturbing question. If the conditions were right, could it happen again? The dancing plague of 1518 reminds us of something deeply uncomfortable. The human mind is not as individual as we think. It is porous, social, contagious. Under enough pressure, a community can share a breakdown, a fear, a behavior, a physical collapse. We like to think we are rational. We like to think we are in control. But 1518 suggests otherwise. Given the right conditions, the right fear, the right suffering, any of us might find ourselves dancing. Subscribe to OddMind and stay odd.